We're going to be looking at graphing horizontal and vertical lines. So when we're looking at graphing horizontal and vertical lines, what ends up happening is most of our equations we've looked at so far have been something like y equals 2x minus 5, something like that, where there's both a y and an x in the same equation. These ones you can see y equals -2 and x equals 3. There is only the one variable in each equation, and that's what's going to end up giving us the horizontal and vertical line. So the biggest thing we have to figure out when we're asking what these two graphs look like is which one ends up being vertical and which one ends up being horizontal. So that's our goal, is to try and figure out which one is which. Okay? And just like we've done with all our other equations, the first thing that we're going to start by doing is we are going to start by making a table of values. So if I look at this one, y is equal to -2. Again, I'm going to separate it into an x column and a y column. The difference here, though, is when I'm looking to fill in my values, I'm told y is -2. So I can choose something for x, and our favorite was to pick x as 0, and then y has to be -2, because where do I put x up here? There's really nowhere for me to put x in anywhere, so it doesn't matter what I pick for x. Whatever I pick for x, y is still going to be -2. And so then I can pick my next value for x. I'll change and make it a 1. And then it's kind of the same problem. Where do I put in an x anywhere here? There is no x for me to substitute a 1 in. I'm not putting 1 in anywhere. There's just nowhere for it to go. Y is just -2. So again, y is -2. And if I pick 2 for x, well, y is still going to be -2. And if I pick -1 for x, well, y is still going to be -2. And really, it doesn't matter what we pick for x, y is always going to be -2. So what that ends up looking like, if I go to graph it, and again, I'm using Desmos, so thanks Desmos for letting us use your free graphing calculator. Here's my table of values. I got -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, and for all of them, y is just -2. And you can see when I plot this that we get our 5 green dots right here, and they are in what we would call a horizontal line. So if I was to bring in the line of the graph, this red line here, it's this red line that connects all 5 of those dots, and it is a line that goes through -2 for y. So you can see here, this is a horizontal line. It's a horizontal line because it's lying down flat, kind of like if you look at the sunset or sunrise, you are looking at the horizon, which is the flat landscape that you are looking at. So this is like our horizon, a horizontal line. And the reason we end up getting a horizontal line, if we think about it, we only have y equals something, right? So that means y isn't really able to go up or down. Y is stuck, right? Y was stuck at -2. It's not allowed to move up or down. It's stuck right at that -2. So no matter what x was, y always had to be -2. We could move left or right, that was no problem, but y was always stuck at that value of -2. So if you have y equals something, then you are going to get a horizontal line every single time. So if the only letter you have is y equals and then you've got some number, you will have a horizontal line because it's saying y is stuck. It's not allowed to go up. It's not allowed to go down. It's stuck, but we can freely move to the left and the right. Okay? So obviously, it should make sense that if we switch to our other one, which was x equals 3, and we try looking at a table of values here, if x is now the only variable that we have, x is going to get stuck at something. And in this case, x is stuck at 3, meaning x, the only thing it is allowed to be is 3. Which is kind of weird because usually that's the variable that we get to choose, right? Usually we say x is our independent variable. We get to pick what x is going to be. Well, in this case, x has to be 3. So all 5 of my values that I would choose for x, they all have to be 3. I don't have any other choices. But x is stuck at 3, but y is not stuck anywhere. In fact, we can now make y whatever we like. So I'm going to choose some y values this time. And again, I like to start with 0, and I like to have a positive, or 2 positives and 2 negatives, and I like to put them in a nice order and sequence. I get to choose my y's this time because x is stuck. X always has to be 3. There is no other options for x. It has to be 3 for all of my values. But y, we get to pick now 5 distinct values for this one. Okay? And when we hop over to our graph, here's what it looks like. There's the table of values. X was all 3 for all of them, and y -2, -1, 0, 1, 2. And we can see now this is graphing in a vertical line, straight up and down, right? Vertical, being able to, like, how high can you jump? That's your vertical, right? So vertical is going up and down. And again, this works because x was stuck. We're not allowed to move left or right. Right now, x equals something means we're stuck. We don't get to go left, we don't get to go right, but y is free to change as much as we want. So we can go up and down, no problem, but we cannot move left or right. We are stuck, and in this case, x was stuck at 3. So remember, if you ever have just x equals some number, you will get a vertical line, okay? So those are the things we have to keep in mind. So if we were to look at these graphs, and I was just asked to describe what are these graphs going to look like, okay? The first one, y equals 2x minus 3. That's just like the graphs we've been doing the last couple of days. Y equals 2x minus 3. This is going to be what we call an oblique line. Now, another word that you might use is diagonal. Okay, so this one, because it's got both x and y, we know it's going to give us some kind of diagonal line. And in this case, because I can see the coefficient for x, or the slope, is something that is positive, my line is going to look like a diagonal that's moving up in the positive direction for y, but I'm going to have an oblique or diagonal line, and that's the important part here. Next one, if x is equal to -1. So again, if x is equal to -1, remember this means that x is stuck at -1, meaning we cannot go left or right. We are only then allowed to move up and down. So this is going to give us a vertical line because we are not allowed to move left or right. X is stuck at that value, -1. It is not allowed to move to the side. We can only go up and down. The last one then, y equals +4. Again, this one is y is now stuck at +4, meaning it cannot go up or down, but it is allowed to move left and right freely so long as the value for y is always 4. So this would give us a horizontal line. Okay, so I know that's a little bit confusing because often students will assume, well, if x equals something and it's x, it's got to be horizontal, and it's actually backwards. Okay, x being something gives you your vertical line because you can't go left or right. You're stuck at that value and you cannot go side to side. Likewise, y equaling 4 means that the value for y cannot change. It cannot move up or down, meaning we only go left and right, and we get horizontal lines. These are the 3 types of graphs we will be looking at. Is we have oblique or diagonal, and we will get that if we've got both a y and an x. We've got a vertical line. We will get that if we have x as our variable only and nothing else. And then we have horizontal lines, which we will get if we have y equaling something and no other variable. That is horizontal and vertical lines.